The following is a hockey podcast out of Vancouver and Surrey, British Columbia. It'll only consist of a lot of puck talk and even more BS, or in actual words, banter and satire. Enjoy, and as always, go Canucks go.
Trevor, you know what they say, right? Every time you lose a Gustav Forsling, you got to do what? You got to do what? What do you got to do? Sign Justin Schultz? What?
You're Locked On Canucks, your daily podcast on the Vancouver Canucks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, I know what Kyle's saying. You know, when you lose a Gustav, you got to replace him with a BC Bud. And welcome to a show produced by a couple of BC Buds. This is Locked On Canucks, your Canucks every day. My name is Trevor Beggs, co-host of Locked On Canucks, also a Canucks writer with Daily Hive Vancouver. Before we dive into the episode, we got to thank you for tuning into Locked On Canucks, because guess what? Like I said, it's your Canucks every damn day. We're part of that Locked On Podcast Network, doing the most for sports fans across the world. And for our show, if you haven't done so already, make sure you go like, subscribe, follow for free on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. And you know, the Rolling Stones are in town tonight, okay? I can't believe they're still going at a combined age of 898 years old.
How is that even possible? How is that possible? How is that possible? Do they use autotune? No, they don't use autotune. That's incredible. 87 years old, performing at Rogers Arena and not using autotune. Like, it's things like that that inspire me, and it's things like that that tell me that I'm not stupid when I think the Canucks should replace Gustav Forsling, which makes no sense at all, with Justin Schultz, even though Justin Schultz is like 34 years old. Okay, anyways, Trevor Beggs, continue.
Yeah, I think, the Rolling Stones, if the fact they're in town, it still blows my mind. But anyways, if you want to get Rolling Stones tickets, you can use our sponsor for today's show, and that's Game Time, baby. Go download that Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms, they do apply, okay? On today's episode, we got to talk about it, okay? Gustav Forsling, long gone from the Vancouver Canucks, way back in the Jim Benning era. Kyle, that was back in 2015. You and I were, we looked exactly the same. Let's be real, right? Right?
Dude,
but, you know, I think the mission for... Exactly. You know, but I think for the mission for not just the Canucks, but any team, is to find the next Gustav Forsling. Is it possible? And could it make some sense for the Canucks when you look at their big, heavy, slow bottom four on defense? Could it make sense for them to try to target the next Gustav Forsling? Let's bring up a couple of options on this episode of Locked On Canucks. We'll also talk about the Canucks goaltending depth, where it stands right now, and should the Canucks be, you know, happy with where things are at. We'll also get to your comments as well on this sunny, warm, hot, and sticky Friday. Oh, baby. But before we do all that, let me introduce my co-host. I don't know how hot and sticky he is right now at 8:47 in the morning. Kyle Bowen, how you doing, brother?
Dude, always hot and sticky, man. That's my go-to move, man. In the bedroom, man, hot and sticky. You know how, you got to talk dirty sometimes, right? I always say that, yo, I'm about to make sure you get hot and sticky. You know, that gets them going. Okay? Anyways, Kyle Bound, Trevor Beggs, doing this, and 9 years later, still looking for the next Gustav Forsling, okay? For real, can the Canucks ever replace this guy? And I think that's a pretty cool question to ask, a pretty horrific question to ask as well as a Canucks fan. But man, oh man, we do it all the time with Cam Neely. You know what I'm saying? And I'm telling you, Gustav Forsling is the next Cam Neely when it comes to the Vancouver Canucks. But anyways, we got to look forward to the future. We got to look forward to, again, somehow replacing him. And Trevor Beggs is going to go through some UFA/RFAs that could become not just like project players for the Vancouver Canucks, but absolute grand slams, okay? It could happen. You never know. Adam Foote, Rick Tocchet, Sergei Gonchar, the dude named Yogi. You never know what they could actually do with a what's the quote? Another man's trash is another man's treasure, or something like that. Yeah, one of those things. Who is the next Gustav Forsling? Because again, that's always gonna hurt. The fact that this guy got away. And Canucks fans, if you guys want to do something cool, like if you want to look for the perfect complementary defenseman to Quinn Hughes within a system, within an organization, like if you're like even setting up Team USA, and you want to add balance to your lineup, like outside of Adam Fox and like Quinn Hughes and whatnot, look at a guy like Gustav Forsling. And right now on YouTube, somebody uploaded a shift by shift analysis of almost every game Gustav Forsling played in the Stanley Cup Finals. Okay, this dude is on a planet of his own when it comes to taking the puck away from other forwards. All in all, we miss him, and we're gonna replace him, and we're gonna do that today on Locked On Canucks. Hit the like button, subscribe. Let's have some fun.
All right. So, I think
there,
when
Trevor?
you're primarily looking at candidates to replace things, I'm here. Can you hear me? Oh, I'm lag. Am I lagging for you, buddy?
Yeah,
Okay.
I can hear you now.
Uh,
You are.
okay, beautiful. So, replacements for the next Gustav Forsling. You're looking for a younger guy. Maybe it's an RFA. Maybe it's a guy that went unqualified. Maybe it's a guy that could fall through the waiver wire. But let's talk about a couple options. And, I don't want to go down the Swedish route, but there are a couple of Swedes out there right now, an RFA and a UFA, who I think could make sense as potentially the next Gustav Forsling. And let's talk about the RFA first. And that's Adam Boquist, okay? Now, when this draft came around, Adam Boquist, I would believe he was the draft after Quinn Hughes. Might even be the same draft as Quinn Hughes.
No,
I
it's the same draft. He got drafted after Quinn Hughes.
Yeah, the exact pick after Quinn Hughes. There we go. Thank you, buddy.
No
you look
problem.
right now, you want to go from Columbus. A couple of years ago, Columbus guy had 11 goals, 22 points in 52 games. He's averaged 34 points per 82 games through his NHL career, but he's been with two teams that have been atrocious defensively. I don't think Adam Boquist has been set up in the right environment to succeed. Now, I look at a guy like Adam Boquist, and I do wonder, is this a guy who, in the right environment, could he develop into a solid puck-moving defense? You look at his defensive metrics; they haven't been great, but relative to his team, they're about where his teammates are, right? So, Kyle, I don't know. How do you feel about bringing another offensively inclined blue liner to this team in general? And again, with a guy like Adam Boquist, I think we know that he's got some puck skills and he can produce offensively. But are you interested in bringing in a guy like that to maybe shore things up and bring something different to the bottom four right now, which is, again, very heavy and pretty slow?
I would be more than somewhat interested because I think, again, if the Canucks are giving a guy like Vincent Desharnais 2 years at $2 million per year, and they're looking at that project, a big project, and they're trying to transform that guy into a number 5 defenseman, like, why wouldn't I want the Canucks to take a 7th or 8th overall pick who has some puck skills, a lot of puck skills, and see if they can turn a dude with puck skills who's a good skater who can make a good first pass into somebody who falls in love with the defensive side of the game. You know what I'm saying? Again, look at the Gustav Forsling film. I'm not going to go out there and say that's easy to do. And I'm not also going to go out there and say that a lot of Gustav's biggest strengths aren't instinctual, right? Like picking the puck, taking the puck away from a forward and doing all those things and your poke check. Like how much are those things? Like how much are those traits a God-given talent? I don't know, but I don't want to knock it too much. But I'm thinking that guys like Adam Foote, Sergei Gonchar, and Yogi could teach a guy with good puck skills and good movement and a good first pass how to prioritize, again, those things that Forsling does. You get what I'm saying? And that's how the Canucks can, again, one day replace Gustav Forsling. So maybe they can do it with Boquist. Now, I will say this also about the guy. I've heard multiple people now tell me that Rick Tocchet will never love this Boquist guy. Am I saying his name right? Like, that's what people are saying. Like, Rick Tocchet will not like this guy at all. So it's not going to happen.
Yeah, and I mean, again, look at what the Canucks have done on defense the past couple of years. Even in that first Tocchet year where he was just kind of getting to know the team, it was guys like, Christian Wallin was there, but he had some, at least a bit more size than a Boquist. Kyle Burrows on the defense as well. So, but again, I think the Canucks, I wonder if their hands going to be forced at some point because of the lack of puck moving skills between guys like Forbort and Desharnais on your bottom pairing. Tyler Myers, we know, has his moments where he looks great and a lot of moments where he, doesn't look so great. Let me bring up one more name and then we'll get to a few more on the other side. But this one is kind of obvious, but Oliver Shillington, okay? Oliver Shillington of the Calgary Flames. He missed a year due to being in the NHLPA player assistance program for mental health issues. But he came back last year, looked pretty good in about 30-ish games for the Calgary Flames. He's gone unqualified. He's a UFA, 27 years old. And we've seen, Kyle, the Canucks like those 27-year-old UFAs in terms of them signing Jake DeBrusk. I do wonder if Shillington, a guy who, again, was really beloved in his draft year, people were surprised that he fell down in the second round, late second round. I do wonder if this is a guy who, again, some good skating ability. He's shown that he can play in the NHL. If that might be a guy who would bring a different element at no cost to the Canucks defense.
And also a guy who could be looking at a new lease on life. Maybe, again, like mental health issues, took a year off, a fresh start, a fresh environment, that fresh BC bud. I mean, that fresh BC air. That's what I meant to say. Maybe that could bring something to the table. And again, you're looking at a guy who has the skills, right? The God-given talent, right? The skating ability, his hands, all this ish. Can a guy like that strip away the ego like Boquist? Just like, yo, you're not this guy anymore. Don't try to be the 70-point guy. Don't try to be the 60-point guy anymore, you know? Don't try to be the 80-point guy. Don't be that guy. Don't be that guy. Just be this guy. Keep it simple. You know, like show these guys a Chris Tanner tape, or show these guys Dan Hamhuis tape. Or again, on YouTube in 2024, I cannot believe it. What the biggest slap in the face to the Canucks fans, okay? Or Jim Benning fans, I should say, is the fact that how in 2024 is there game by game, shift by shift film on YouTube available of Gustav Forsling and not Matthew Tkachuk and not Alexander Barkov? You know what I'm saying? Because this guy, in his own way, is incredible. I have no doubt in my mind, just by watching the film and a couple games in that Stanley Cup Finals, Gustav Forsling in his own world is like 91 overall. 91 overall. And this guy went on waivers. He got traded. We're looking for that guy.
Yeah, I hope we find him, but again, it's going to be tough to do. But, you know, between Boquist and Shillington, I mean, Boquist, younger, longer runway. But Shillington, I think right now is, again, a no-cost target, right? And a guy who could be acquired for just signing maybe a one-year show-me deal. I really like the idea of potentially targeting Shillington for the Vancouver Canucks. Let's get to some more names on the other side, but we got to get paid, baby. And that means shouting out our friends over at eBay Motors. You know the deal by now. If you're an everyday or even if you're an occasional listener, and that's passion, drive, and patience, that's the formula for winning championships, and that's also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors is everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts to choose from for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash, baby. With all the parts you need to the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers.
People, we back doing this on this Friday at the Don't Dose Art Lab, and that's giving you Locked On Canucks, okay? The show that gives you the Canucks every day, no matter what, and it gives you a lot of assumption, a lot of hope, a lot of delusion. I do think that Trevor and I do provide the most delusional program on YouTube, on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to podcasts about your Vancouver Canucks. Speaking of which, hit the like button, subscribe, leave us a positive review. It helps us out a lot. Begsy and I, again, we just want to live a life where we see each other once a month in person. And since, you know, we have families and lovely women in our lives, it's kind of hard to do. You know, it's kind of hard to do. It is hard to do. But we could do it if we go on double dates. Every like gets us closer to going on double dates for the rest of our lives. Anyways, let's get to some comments before we talk more about finding the next Gustav Forsling. Okay, straight up. I like this comment right here. It was from one of the homies. Someone saying that we have one of the most friendliest Canucks podcasts in the world. I think it came from Kurt Richardson or something. Okay, there you go. Look at this comment right here. The most fan-friendly Canucks podcast out there. Speaking of which, join the Discord, link in the bio, because it's happening, bro. We're getting the fans involved, and I want to get the fans involved next week, okay? I want to bring a fan on the show every week in the summer. And if it goes well, I want to bring a fan on the show every week of the year. Okay, who cares what the ups say? Who cares? Straight up. How about this one from Kurt, too, okay? I can see Justin Schultz taking a hometown discount on a 1-year deal. Okay, I want to bring up Justin Schultz because I know he's old, and old people can't develop, right? Old people, after they reach their peak, there's no development. You can't develop. You can't get better in this thing called your life. That being said, I actually think Justin Schultz is a professional defenseman who's been through a lot, who's won cups, who's experienced, and maybe he wants to bring the cup back to BC for the first time ever, okay? Jim Rutherford, Patrick Alvine, Rick Tocchet, comfortable with Justin Schultz. Justin Schultz, show him some Gustav Forsling film, and I promise you, this guy could become a poor man, a very poor, what I meant to say is he could become a poor man's Gustav Forsling, okay? Am I stupid in thinking that? Like, should the Canucks look at Justin Schultz as a target?
I don't love it, to be honest with you. I think he was pretty mediocre for the Kraken last year. Again, he didn't get re-signed by a Kraken team that was not great defensively. He lost some opportunity there. I would much prefer the Canucks. I know they're chasing the cup, but I would much prefer the Canucks chase a younger guy because, again, they're looking for upside, right? That's what they do with Vincent Desharnais instead of going to sign a Justin Schultz.
1-year deal, dude. Who cares, dude? Come on, bro. Okay, look at this. Kevner Canucks saying old people can't develop. I'm telling you, Trevor is the biggest hater on people post age 28, okay? He doesn't believe that those types of people can pursue dreams, pursue goals. Once you're at that age, you got to lock it down and be who you are. Trevor begs, man. There's something more in Justin Schultz. You got something there, man. You got playoff experience, too. You got a professional. You got somebody who's probably used to Rick Tocchet. I think he has the tools. And again, the Canucks, the last time I checked, they need someone else who's not a tree on defense. You get what I'm saying? Like one little thing that's not a tree. Like, come on. We're going to be icing a lineup of Forbert, Desharnais, Soucy, and Myers after Hughes and Aronik. Come on, man.
Yeah, it's because I still think I'm 18 years old. But again, I would much rather them go the waiver wire route, chase a guy that's younger with some upside. Again, Justin Schultz, and don't forget, I mean, Justin Schultz had a pretty unceremonious exit with the Pittsburgh Penguins. They kind of, after they brought him in and he's really succeeded there, they kind of exiled him. So I don't know what the relationship between
Trevor, think about
and
this.
Schultz, how great that is.
Think about the Magic, okay? Think about the story. Think about Vancouver and the Canucks winning a Stanley Cup and how they're going to do it and all of our trials and tribulations. And right now we're talking about Gustav mother effing Forsling, right? Gustav Forsling. We're talking about this dude. How did we lose him? We got rid of him, right? Speaking of losing him, we lost out on Justin Schultz. You remember that? The Justin Schultz saga, right? We almost got him. The guy was the hottest commodity coming out of college, and we lost him to the Oilers. So it would be a full circle moment if this guy ended his career with the Canucks and he helped us as a number 4, number 5 defenseman win the Stanley Cup. Come on, man. You got to think about these things, bro. You got to read some Deepak Chopra, believe in magic, okay?
Believe in magic. Yeah, maybe I'm not believing in magic enough. Let me get to a few more names here because we've only mentioned 2 names here in the 18 minutes so far.
3 names. So I mentioned Justin Schultz. Justin Schultz. Give him some credit, man.
All right. Can Justin Schultz be the next Gustav Forsling? I feel like that's a bit of a stretch considering, he's 7-8 years older than Gustav Forsling. I digress. All right. I want to bring up a name that's been tied to the Canucks for quite some time, and that's Dylan Coghlan of the Carolina Hurricanes, the pride of Duncan, BC, okay? The guy has, when he's been in the NHL, the advanced metrics have been great. He succeeded in the AHL. He's been nearly a point-a-game defender. He's got some size to him. He shoots right, but this guy just can't crack the Carolina Hurricanes blue line. Dylan Coghlan, to me, that's a guy that, he's waiver eligible. If he does fall through the waiver wire, he is a guy that I would like to see the Canucks try to target. I should mention as well, he is an RFA. He's still unsigned by Carolina. I do wonder, I'm surprised they qualified him, to be honest, because this guy just hasn't gotten a shot in Carolina. But I've liked Dylan Coghlan for a long time. And, I'd like to see another BC Bud come back to BC. Sorry, Justin Schultz, you're not the BC Bud for me. I prefer a little Dylan Coghlan, the pride of Duncan, BC.
You asshole.
I'll mention a couple of bigger names here. I know, right? I'm going to mention a couple of bigger names here quick. I'm going to go with Henry Jokiharju of the Buffalo Sabres. Now, the Buffalo Sabres currently have 8 defensemen on their active roster. Yoki Harshu is an RFA who has not been signed. The Sabres got a ton of cap space to get this done. But, Yoki Harshu last year, his defensive metrics look good, but he just couldn't produce offensively. He had just 3 goals and 20 points throughout the season. But he's a guy that I wonder if, Buffalo decides to move in a different direction, try to give some other young guys a shot because they consistently seem to be turning things over there. I would love to see if Henry Yoki Harshu could slide into a bottom pairing role, a shelter bottom pairing role for your Vancouver Canucks. And one last thing I'll bring up is old friend Travis Dermott, okay? The Canucks liked this guy originally. And obviously concussion issues, they let him walk as a free agent last offseason. He played pretty good in Arizona this year, all things considered. I mean, he's never going to be a guy that puts up points, but he can skate, he can defend, and he is still currently a UFA. So I do wonder if there's a potential reunion with Travis Dermott and the Vancouver Canucks as well.
Damn. That'd be something else. Again, Alvin gives up a 3rd-round pick / gives up Travis Hamonic for Travis Dermott pretty much, and Dermott is just injured and inconsistent when it comes to, again, being able to stay healthy, doesn't really get a chance, and I don't even know where he's playing right now. Is he playing in Arizona or something like that? Like, where is this guy? Or Utah? Where did he play last year?
Travis Dermott was in Arizona last year, yeah.
Yeah, so it would be interesting to see them circle back on a guy like that. I want to bring up this name as well. How about a guy like Dante Fabro? I think the comments are going off on him. I feel as if this guy's been linked to the Canucks ever since he was 4 years old, right? For real? That's just the truth. It's guys like that. Like, can the Canucks do it? Again, we have to bring this up, Trevor, and I hate to poo-poo on the guy because I'm thinking that he can become a better defenseman than Darnell Nurse, right? And the Oilers are going to regret letting go of Vincent Desharnais. But if we're talking about project players, like, it's really interesting how the Vancouver Canucks chose to buy in on a 2-year lease with a project, a player like Vincent Desharnais, a tree, right? A guy who doesn't have good puck skills, who's turnover prone, rather than taking a bit of a chance on one of these guys and giving them 2 years, right? Giving them that project type. Like, it's like it just seems like this decor definitely needed more puck moving. Because you can definitely, like, you can make the argument, like, going into next season, if this is your 6th defenseman that you're going in with, like, having 3 defensemen who struggle to consistently move the puck out it's going to break down the Canucks, man. I'm not confident at all that going into October and November that the Vancouver Canucks can roll out a decor of Myers, Forbert, Vincent Desharnais, or Noah Juulsen picking up a ton of minutes. Like, they need another guy who is a smooth skater, who's calm, and who can just make a good first pass.
Yeah, and I'll touch on Fabro quickly. I mean, I think there's actually, like I say, he's been tied to the Canucks since he was 4 years old, but I actually think there's still some intrigue around Dante Fabro because the Nashville Predators, we all saw what they went out and did during free agency, right? And now they're pretty much capped out. And they still do have a couple guys to sign. And I do wonder if Dante Fabro, who might I remind you was a healthy scratch for some of those playoff games between the Canucks and the Nashville Predators, if the Nashville Predators finally decide, enough is enough, maybe it's time to move on from Dante Fabro. And I'm going to throw one more deep dive name from Nashville, then we'll cut to break. Mark Delgaizo, okay? He's a smaller defenseman, but the guy can freaking skate like the wind. I think he's got some tenacity to his game, too. He's only 5'11", 190, but again, skates really, really well. I saw him in a few NHL games this season. He had 3 assists in 9 games, his first 9 NHL games. And the guy's got some playmaking ability, some skating. He would certainly bring a different element to the Canucks bottom 4. And I think when you do have those big guys in your bottom 4, and you have a guy like Noah Juulsen waiting in the wings, I think you could afford to have another smaller guy who can skate. And, I think Mark Delgaizo was a guy who might fall through the waiver wire for the Canucks as well.
No team needs 4 of your 7 defensemen being Myers, Forbert, Desharnais, and Noah Juulsen, okay? Look at this video I found on TikTok. I can't play the music, so I can't even play it on the big screen, but I'll show the people via the webcam, okay? Sorry for the podcast listeners, but this is a Boston Bruins fan living his best life because Derek Forbert is no longer a Boston Bruin, okay? Look at this video. Do you see this? Look at this. Look how happy he is. And it's because Derek Forbert is no longer on his team. You know who these guys remind me of? And again, you can't ace all these projects and you can't develop all these guys. There's so many things you got to do throughout the year, but You don't want to go into a season where you have 2 Lucas Spizas playing for you every game. You want to talk about a project player? Like, this regime would love Lucas Spiza because they think that he could be something, you know? We need somebody else.
Oh, the trauma, man, the trauma. All right, let's get to a couple comments to this side. Maybe we'll touch on goaltending. Maybe we won't. I don't know what's gonna happen, but stay tuned to find out what's next here on Locked On Canucks.
People, we back doing this, and that's talking about dreams. Talking about the best things in life. Talking about developing. Talking about replacing Gustav Forsling in this organization. Again, we talk a lot about Cam Neely. I'm telling you, the next Cam Neely for your Vancouver Canucks is Gustav Forsling. And I think the Canucks can do it, man. I think the Canucks have this deep belief, this regime, this coaching staff has this hockey nerd in them. They want to ace projects. They want to develop players who are like in their mid-20s, early 30s. They want to transform guys, right? And right now, they only want to work on the trees, the tall guys. Okay? Rick Tocchet, if you're listening to this, small guys win too, okay? For real. Short guys win too. It's a copycat league, right? It's a copycat league, right? That's what people say. Look at the Florida Panthers. How many trees did these guys have on their team? How many trees did they have? Tell me. 3?
I mean, yeah, the interesting thing about the Florida blue line is I don't think they had a guy sub 6 feet on their blue line. Tell me if I'm wrong, but you got
Brandon Montour.
Yeah, those are all like
average size
6'1" guys.
Yeah, and then I guess they did have some trees. Aaron Ekblad, that Nikolai guy, that guy's pretty tall.
Yeah,
Ekman Larson's probably
a big guy.
Kulikov, Ekman Larson. Man. Anyways, man. I don't know, man. What do I know about hockey? I'm just a Findy, right? I'm struggling to see the Canucks play defense next season when I feel like they have 2.5 Lucas Spizas playing every night. Again, I'm not really convinced that Tyler Myers is consistently going to be that guy if you're relying on him to play 18 to 19 to 20 minutes a game. Anyways, Begsy, shut me up. Let's talk more about, if you have any more Gustav Forsling candidates out there, say them. You want to talk more about the goaltending? Let's get to the comments. It's Friday. We're all over the place. Who cares? Who cares?
It don't matter. I'll show this comment from Kurt Richardson because there's a name in here we haven't touched on. So he said, Kalen Addison, ? Possible trade for Fabro. Schultz is probably the best and cheapest short-term fix. So Kurt is on team Kyle today, not team hating on the old guys Begsy over here.
Yeah, man.
So we touched on the Fabro trade. We touched on Schultz. Kalen Addison. The thing with Addison is he is so porous defensively. I just don't know if you could resurrect his game. The guy just doesn't seem to care about playing defense despite being a defenseman. I mean, last year with the Sharks, I know everyone was bad, but he was bad defensively in Minnesota. They had to really shelter him. Whenever he had any defensive responsibility, it didn't go well. And last year with the Sharks, I think he was a team worst, like minus 38 in like 50-something games. I mean, Kalen Addison, whenever I watched him, was just lost defensively. I don't know. That is a project and a half to go resurrect his career. The guy's got some offensive skill, but I think he's got so far to come on the defensive side that I don't love him as a target. Okay. Go ahead.
No, I want to ask you a hockey nerd question. Like, you know, we keep beating around the bush and we're like, oh yeah, you just gotta you can develop these guys and turn these guys into like Gustav Forsling or whatever. Like, what do you have to tell a guy like Addison or Fabro or who are some other names that you brought up earlier on, like these offensive defensemen like Shillington and all this jazz? Like, what do you have to tell these guys? Like, what's the conversation like between Tocchet and Foote to tell these guys to, again, tone it down, use your skills another way, and remove the ego? Like, how does that conversation sound like to you, from coach to player? Again, demanding that a player removes this old version of himself to transform into something new.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's tough when you get to that level of NHL hockey to be completely broken down right? Because these guys, they've all been playing hockey pretty much their whole life, right? And then all of a sudden, it's coach going to come in and say, you need to completely revamp your game.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there's so many different personalities out there too, right? Like, if you are the type of personality that, you know, all you want to do is improve, all you want to do is get better, maybe you just buy into it and go along with it. And I think we saw a ton of buy-in from the Canucks last season, right? Again, Tyler Myers, I think, really simplified his game. The chaotic moments were still there, but the dude really simplified his game and bought in. Noah Juleson got rid of the chaotic nature of his game, bought in, and looked like a way better defenseman. So if there is buy-in, despite what the coaching staff's saying, maybe it comes off as drastic in some regard. But I think if you're the kind of person who is, willing to get better at all costs and you just buy into it, you're going to be all right.
Fair enough. And man, oh man, the more and more we have this conversation, the more I let out. You can hear it in my voice. There's like what's that word I haven't used in a while? There's a lot of pessimism in my voice, right? I'm finally becoming the darkest guy on this program. Okay, for almost a full year, it's been Trevor Beggs. Look at us. Who's darker? Trevor Beggs. But today, I'm the dark one. So I'm going to switch gears before we get to all the comments, before we talk about She Lost for just a bit, and say this. The Canucks already found their next Gustav Forsling, and his name is Vincent Darnay, okay? Anyways, Beggsy, a quick little note on goaltending. You're bringing up how, like, Antti Ranta dropped his resume off to Rogers Arena. He wants to be a Vancouver Canuck. You're talking about Martin Jones having, I don't know, mutual interest with the Vancouver Canucks, and I'm sitting here like, shut up. We got 2 more years of Demko left. I'm guaranteeing that. And that it is what it is. It is what it is. The NHL landscape is changing. I don't know if the Canucks are going to re-up Demko for like 7.85 a year or 8.75 a year in 2 years, right? You got Archer Shelovs. Play him this year. Play him for 30 games. Give him that NHL experience. Let him, practice with the big boys. Get used to that NHL velocity in practice. Gear him up for what's about to come, okay? In 2 years or after 2 years, he's going to be the starter. And I may be wrong on that because Thatcher Demko gets hurt. Artur Shelovs may have to be the starter this season for a long period of time, whether that be the regular season or the playoffs. He's the backup. Let's stop playing games. We already got some Patera guy to bring in some competition. We don't need to be spending money on Martin Jones.
Yeah, or Antti Ranta for that matter. So I'll touch on both those things quick. Kevin Woodley from NHL.com reported that Antti Ranta had interest in joining the Vancouver Canucks and that his agent reached out to the Canucks when free agency opened. And basically the Canucks said, we don't need another injury-prone goalie on our roster. So Ranta's had some good NHL success in the past. Obviously played for a good Hurricanes team, but has not been able to stay healthy. And I agree with the Canucks' opinion on that one. That is the last thing this team needs. Martin Jones, look, I mean, the tie there is that he's from Vancouver. There was an article at the Score saying best fits for remaining UFAs, and they were suggesting that Martin Jones would fit in Vancouver. I just think that's a garbage. Like, oh, this guy's from Vancouver. He should be a Canuck. No, we don't need Martin Jones. Look, I'm happy with where the Canucks are goaltending wise. I think Patera's proven he can play NHL games. I like what I've seen from him in the AHL and the NHL for that matter. I remember watching a game between him and the Avs about mid-season, one of his first NHL starts there. He really held his own. Shelovs, I think he's ready for backup duty. He's proven that when he's with this team, he can handle the moment. And to shout out to GV in the comments in terms of his contract, look, I think there's nothing really moving right now in that regard because the Canucks have pretty much all the leverage, right? The guy is still waiver eligible. I know he had a great playoff performance, but a deal is going to get done at some point, probably in that $1 million range. It's nothing really to lose any sleep about if you're a Canucks fan. But Shelovs is the backup. I don't got a problem with that. And look, Tulipil was really good in the AHL last season too.
I would lose sleep over it, man. Like, why are the Canucks spending man hours and like telling their R&D team to like, oh, let's scout some more backup goaltenders? Dude, shut up, okay? Okay, Trevor, would you rather have Artur Shelovs start 29 games in the regular season in the NHL or 50 in the AHL? To me, it's easy. It's 29 in the exactly. It's bro. This guy deserves it, man. This guy deserves it. I'm sorry. What he did in the playoffs, like, I know we only made the second round to Game 7. I know his save percentage was like probably still under 9 after that. Well, I don't know the math. Okay, like I don't know what it's all a blur. Okay, it's all a blur. That being said, what Shelovs did in the playoffs was real deal stuff. Okay, for real. Anyways, let's get to some comments before we get out of here. Maybe we'll have a full goaltending episode next week. Thanks for sticking around. Again, hit the like button, subscribe to the show if you're new here, and let's get to the comments. Okay, the people are the best part of the program, and man, oh man, the people are talking, man. Look at this, man. Look at Aaron Gray. Okay, the Canucks are lacking in size and physicality. What? And Aaron Gray, after replying to some of the hate he was getting for that comment, saying he's greedy. Okay, he needs more size. If you guys don't know who Aaron Gray is, he's the number 1 ball hockey GM currently in Surrey, British Columbia. And he's actually a former bodybuilder, amateur bodybuilder, okay? He never wanted to join the pros. He's a family man, all that jazz. He's that type of guy. But if there's one guy in BC who knows a thing about size, it's Aaron Gray.
Yeah, and another thing who knows about size is humongous, and humongous saying, Aaron, you can never be too big. And humongous with a 13-inch wrench knows all about how humongous you could be. And again, never too big, Kyle. Do you agree with that? Is there such a thing as too big?
Again, since I'm a small guy, like one of those small guys who believes like you got to work with what you got, and I'm just team small. Okay, I've been working with 4.5 inches my whole life. I think that like I'm always just leaning towards the whole nice guys don't finish last. I don't like that, and also the whole thing that like if you're small, you don't got a chance. Like I love being small. Okay, did I answer your question? I don't know. Look at this comment. Okay, Grim Studio. Damn, talk about being grim. Okay, Archer Sheloff can't even save a point shot yet. If Demko gets injured, we are effed. Okay, and this is another reason why again, Sheloff, who showed strides in the playoffs. He showed a lot of things. He showed like calmness, poisonous. If that's a word, poisonous. He just showed a lot of things, right? A lot of great things. Again, wasn't the perfect goalie. That's how we lost as well. Couldn't stop the point shots. But this is another reason why you want this guy in the NHL. You want him to get used to that, and you also want him to get used to it in practice. Okay, so you want him playing the games, and you want him practicing against those point shots. Like, come on, it's so important for this team to have Sheloffs play in the NHL next season.
Yeah, and I think again he's a young guy who that's an area where traditionally a lot of young goalies struggle is trying to see shots through NHL traffic. It's again, I think you're playing in the best league in the world. So I believe in Sheloffs get better, and for him that for Grim Studios comment again, thanks to the comments, everyone listening, watching Locked On Canucks. Sheloffs for the comment of him not being able to be a starter. The dude almost helped the Canucks beat the team that took the Florida Panthers to Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals. So I'm pretty confident in Sheloffs and that he's only going to get better. And again, the dude is 18 going on 42 with being married at 18 years old. Man alive. I can't
mature, man. Mature. If you can survive this is what Trevor's saying, okay? If you can survive marriage, you can play backup goaltender in a hockey hotbed like Vancouver. That's what he's saying, okay? Last comment goes to Kempner Canucks. Go check out his channel. This guy is an optimistic Canucks fan, and he's saying that I think I don't know what this comment really means, but I think he's saying that he still misses Nikita Zadorov, and he's about to make another video on Nikita Zadorov. Kempner, can you play the reggaeton music, Trevor, or some like Hindu music? Like Kempner, you got to get over it, okay? Big Z, how about Big D? You need. Hey, Kempner, you need some Big D in your life, okay? Not Big Z. You need that Big D in your life, a.k.a. Vincent Desharnais, okay? Make a video about Vincent Desharnais. Yeah, buddy. Yeah. And absorb that Big D. Begsy, I'm out of here. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the like button. Locked On Canucks. One love to the Don't Doze Art Lab for taking care of that West Coast bias. What is the Don't Doze Art Lab? Go check us out at don'tdoze.com. That's DONTDOZE.com. Big D over Big Z. I love that Big D. Begsy, sign us out.
Yeah, it's definitely time to get out of here. Happy Friday. Shout out to the everydayers, occasional listeners, first-time listeners, new subscribers, and those of you who join us on the live show on YouTube. Wherever you're listening, whenever you're listening, we appreciate you for tuning into Locked On Canucks. Hey, maybe go for a nice beach stroll, listen to some Canucks talk, enjoy that BC Bud, do what you got to do, okay? Because remember, Kyle and I got you covered every damn day throughout the month of July here on Locked On Canucks. It don't matter if there's no news. We're going to find lots to talk about, okay? Lots of deep dives, lots of speculation, all kinds of good stuff here. And I'm a list guy too. Let's get some lists going in July as well. If there's anything you want to hear about, let us know in the comments. Kyle and I happy to debate, talk about anything you want to hear. But for now, we got to get out of here. Have a great weekend. We'll talk to you soon. I'm Trevor Beggs. That guy's Kyle Bound. And you've been listening to Locked On Canucks.
Damn, we're almost at 1 million subscribers.
You're Locked On Canucks, your daily podcast on the Vancouver Canucks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network.